So, Apex Legends. To be honest, this game snuck up on me pretty quickly. It snuck up on most people, actually. The title dropped with very little marketing beforehand, hardly any notice, and even now, a lot of gamers will be completely unaware that Apex Legends even exists. To be totally clear, this is not a full review, it's an impressions video after a decent number of hours spent in-game already. I'll do a full review later on when I've really learned everything there is to know, but for now, a first impressions video or take seems to be the right call. So what is this game? Well, first of all, it's a free-to-play battle royale that is on both consoles and PC. The game takes place within the Titanfall universe and has been developed by Respawn Entertainment underneath EA as a publisher. The game has also replaced Titanfall 3 and will be the primary focus of Respawn moving forward. There is a clear emphasis on the Fortnite cosmetics model, and similarities can be drawn between Apex and a lot of other battle royales, but it also has a decent spread of new and unique elements at play which help create a successful game. As most will already know, battle royale games let players drop into a map, loot up gear as they go, and slowly pushes them together for a hectic player versus player conclusion. With such an explosion in the genre's popularity recently, we have already seen this concept executed many times over, sometimes well, sometimes terribly, but Apex Legends has a healthy mix of both very strong positives and also very detrimental negatives. Let's start with the good. One of the first things that jumps out is the ability to respawn fallen teammates. There are 3 stages in Apex Legends: the active playing stage, the downed stage, and the dead stage. But when killed, there is a decently long timer available in which teammates can grab a fallen comrade's emblem and bring it to a revival station where the player is then resurrected. The player comes back with no weapons, no gear, etc., and they can go find their previous corpse and get everything back again if that's possible, but it is sort of a hard reset if you're not able to do that. You have nothing and you have to re-loot. This alone is already a hugely positive element. Oftentimes in similar battle royales, when a squad jumps in and perhaps one player dies right away, it creates this sense of apathy, a sort of feeling like, should we just quit? So-and-so will just have to sit there and watch while we play it out, which could be, what, a 30-minute game? What do we do? How does this go? Apex Legends eliminates that from the equation completely. Even if 1 or 2 teammates die right away, revival is not off the table. Someone can make a clutch play and it's really tense and really fun. It allows for a skilled squad to make 1 or 2 mistakes and still come out of the other side, fully intact. This revival system also creates a more dynamic endgame circle, because the likelihood of running up against full competing enemy squads is far higher. Instead of a circle that ends with 1 team of 3 and 3 separate solo players who simply get eaten alive, the most common occurrence is multiple fully equipped groups fighting it out, which is a far more interesting and tense conclusion than most similar battle royales typically have. Apex Legends also has an operator system, or they're called legends, I guess, or classes, or whatever the fuck. There's too many things in the industry nowadays. I'm just going to call them classes. Each class has an ultimate ability, which is decently powerful under certain circumstances, and adds a layered element of choice and squad composition to a team's consideration. The number of classes right now is fairly limited, but it's an easy area that opens up the possibility for further content, and some of the ultimate abilities are very, very interesting. There is also a gear and attachment rarity curve. Rather than simply increasing damage or accuracy or other passive stats as the weapons you find increase in rarity, they will sometimes have actual combat traits, such as, for instance, a sniper scope that scans enemies, meaning even within a smoke cloud, they can be seen and thus shot, even though the smoke obscures vision because it scans them. There is a standard rarity curve ascending from common whites to legendary yellows for most item types in the game except for consumables. Speaking of consumables, there are grenades, medkits, and now also shield recharge modules. The interesting mechanic here is that once you have found a body armor shield item, it can be recharged and is never fully, completely destroyed. This means that during combat, players will need to juggle their consumables and recharge shield or health separately, which adds a bit more to the looting process and the combat flow, as opposed to other battle royale competitors where you just pick up health packs constantly and then use them non-stop when being shot. Not much depth, mind you, but something. Dropping now has a group stage to it where players can either drop alone or, if they wish, follow a drop leader who pulls the entire team with them. It's useful, especially since the only mode is 3-player squads right now at the moment, but that's a massive negative, so I'll address that in just a minute. The looting stage is also a little bit more comfortable than many other battle royales out there. A lot of the sought after items are consolidated into crates or different containers, which can be looted very quickly and also make it easy to identify which areas have gear still to find and which were looted previously. The gunplay feels decent, bullet drop off is fairly intense, but the map has a good degree of verticality to it, where horizontal positioning isn't all that really matters, and there are zip lines and other travel mechanics that allow players to gain height advantages and disrupt the standard flow of combat in other battle royales, where if you are far away but you don't have a sniper and a scope, then you would have a serious problem. Players are fairly mobile, especially when sliding down hills or similar activities, and definitely certain classes to an extreme. But it being in the Titanfall universe and all, I was certainly expecting double jump and wall running. There isn't any of that. I can't really decide if that harms or benefits the game. A lot of areas seem like they would be much more comfortable to navigate with a double jump, but it's not something that I feel belongs in the negative category necessarily. I guess players can make up their own mind on that. I touched on it previously, but the map is well designed. It's just the one map right now, and it's a moderate size, so players will quickly memorize it, but the interesting thing is that there are crazy close quarters choke points or huge sniping overhangs, as well as standard building installations, and it takes on a more exaggerated feeling than most Battle Royale maps, which is interesting and helps it set itself apart. Now we have to discuss some of the negatives. By far the worst thing is that the game right now is 3-player co-op only. That's a massive downside. There is no solo queue, no duo queue, and there is a method of circumventing the 3-player limitation and 4-manning right now, but the mode that is in the game for the time being is 3-player co-op exclusively, that is all. I have no doubt they will add solo queues eventually, but launching without them to me is just a giant facepalm. There are also some problems with balancing. Think Call of Duty Blackout and the player-based concerns of the relative strength of armor in the beginning, but a lot worse. Having a purple full armor bar is unbelievably powerful. Going up against someone who has a fully charged, maxed out shield, as someone that only has like a halfway charged white shield, it's basically a death sentence every time. Even if you hit headshots. If they have a high tiered helmet as well, you're fucked. Now, I'm pretty bad at the game right now, rusty, out of practice, haven't been grinding FPS games on console for quite some time, so I struggled, but as soon as I got a purple or a gold helmet with equivalent armor, well, then I could miss constantly and still hang even, possibly kill my opponent in trades, even though I'm terrible. I can't even imagine the difference when someone has fast reaction times and quick aiming reflexes. A little too much of the gunplay revolves around how lucky you got with specifically your armor during the looting phase. Another shield-related factor is the downed shield specifically. Now again, there are rarities to these shields. The white version has 100 health, blue has 250 I think, and purple has 750 or something like that. And when downed, if you have one, you can put it up in front of you and block incoming damage while in the down state. Well, if you have even just a blue, but especially a purple one, that's a ton of damage that you can block. So long range fights sometimes get to a sort of stalemate stage, because even when you down someone, you're not breaking through that shield and they will just crawl back and get revived behind cover. The common white version seems fine, blocks some damage, but nothing absurd. But the blue and especially the purple ones are way too much, and it's a very nice thing to have that added survivability while down, to not feel useless, to even have teammates use you yourself as cover. You feel like you're still in the fight, but balancing certainly needs work. Another small complaint is certain sound effects and visual indicators in combat. Hitting an enemy player's shield has a sound. Headshots have a different sound. Downing them has an indicator, and it can be a little strange hearing a rapid-fire collection of those audio signals and the visual shield marker splash, etc., and deciphering whether the player is even down or not. This might not be a problem if the crawling animation was not extremely strange as well, so when a player gets knocked down, it sometimes looks like they are still crouching and moving, and you just heard a bunch of bullet registration hit sounds, and their shield threw off sparks as they got hit, and then there's the non-shield splatter effects, and it's really not very clean. There is a decent spread of options available on both console and PC in the settings menu. That's a nice thing to have. You can find button layout, field of view, that sort of thing. And specifically the console inventory screen has clearly had some thought put into it to make it not suck terribly or be super hard to navigate. It's appreciated, but it's obvious the game is better on PC specifically because of mouse speed. It's meant to be played with a mouse and keyboard to solve certain radial menu drawbacks, and while the console experience is quite good, sometimes in combat juggling back and forth between grenades and the multiple healing types and the shield items to cycle through and do everything you need to do, it can get very tedious, especially in a time crunch. Overall, it's a really solid experience. It desperately needs a solo queue and some further balancing, but it's in decent working condition and obviously has the framework to function well. Cosmetic loot boxes and microtransactions are obviously a huge focus, but it's a free to play game. It gets more leeway in this category when compared to $60 games with similar practices. The question I would urge anyone considering this game to ask themselves is, what is your motivation to switch away from the battle royales already out there? There are reasons to do it, but are they big enough to pull you into a new one entirely? For those that love Fortnite and its building, is Apex Legends going to have what you want? For those that like Blackout and Call of Duty, will a Titanfall-esque battle royale game provide what you are looking for? If the answer to that question is yes, well, it's free. No possible reason not to try it, but I don't really anticipate this being an industry titan. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not, but it feels like this is a pivot from EA's concern over Anthem's future to another more immediate cash flow infusion project. They won't face the same sort of microtransaction and loot box phobia that Anthem is up against right now, being a $60 game and all. They can also capitalize on a trend as well, and due to the lack of marketing and lead up to the game's launch, it very much feels like a short notice decision made for financial reasons and quarterly reports in mind, more so than some benevolent move from EA that they just wanted to surprise us for the fun of it, or nothing like that. The game has hints of Overwatch, hints of Blackout, hints of Fortnite, and a variety of other titles, but it manages to come out as something unique enough where it has its own legs. Am I blown away completely? No. Am I happy with what I played? Absolutely I am. It's free, it's got good mechanical design and consideration, it's a quality offering, and I'll be playing more of it soon. But brace yourselves for the barrage of clickbait titles like Apex, the Fortnite Killer, and stuff like that. Anyways, that's it. Game is good. It may add Titans later on, probably more classes, modes, maps, etc., and it's free, so that would all be fantastic. But as it stands, a bare bones, if admittedly well made, Battle Royale framework launch. If you want to support the channel, check out the links down below. We have esports merch, gaming communities, forums, Facebook group, Discord, etc., and some more stuff too, but I'll cut it there and I'll stop rambling. Thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.